Welcome to the show. It is the Sunrise with your girl Sarah, and I'm super excited to be here because we're here to talk about a brief history of the London Tower Bridge. All right, and the reason I want to talk about all of this is because yesterday or actually on Monday, the London Tower Bridge got stuck, and there was a whole big problem over there because there was a lot of inconvenience. There was a lot of traffic for a lot of people as well, and it was a huge inconvenience for a lot of people, especially when the Tower Bridge gets stuck, right? And the Tower Bridge is something that is commonly used by so many people, and it's in fact one of the most iconic landmarks here in the United Kingdom as well. All right, so that's why I wanted to share this with you. But before we actually head into that conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact be a part of the show. All you need to do is just text me on 078 to share your thoughts, to share your opinions with me, because I would love to hear what you have to say with regard to all of this. All right, and obviously there's a lot of there's a lot of fascinating history and incidents that have actually taken place in the Tower Bridge. So I wanted to share with you as well, because this Tower Bridge getting stuck, it's in fact a common occurrence. It happens once in a while. It's not rare or uncommon. All right, so I thought maybe I'll help all of you understand this fascinating history with regard to the London Tower Bridge. All right, now before we head into our conversation, you can actually go follow us on our socials. You can actually go like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And obviously, something else that you can actually do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? That way, you can find the latest on all of these things that we talk about, from science to sports to technology, and that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed about the very latest, right? The very latest that happens not just here in the United Kingdom, but in fact all over the world as well. And don't forget to download our app either, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can actually make sure that you're always joining to the conversation live from wherever you are in the world. All right, now let's actually get into our conversation about these fascinating things that have actually happened here at the London Tower Bridge. All right, now construction work on the Tower Bridge actually began all the way back in 20 in April, 22nd of April, actually all the way back in 1886. Right, now this bridge was actually designed by City of London architect Sir Horace Jones, right? And it was actually opened to much celebration by the Prince and Princess of Wales on 30th of June 1894, right? Which is essentially about 8 years, if I'm not mistaken, ever since this whole thing began, right? So it basically took 8 years to complete and build. So if you actually think about it, they've actually built that huge, the huge Tower Bridge within the span of 8 years, and they actually used a lot of you know engineering and science to basically do it, right? And it's no small feat, obviously. So that is something that that you need to keep in mind, right? It's amazing, right? If you actually look at the architecture of it looks absolutely amazing. And the fact of the matter is they built this all the way back in basically in the 19th century, right? Now the crossing is actually formed of two bascules which move around on and off center pivot, right? Which basically allows them to rise. Now, if you didn't know, the word bascule is actually French and can be translated to seesaw. Okay, so that's where you have the whole mechanism of it raising up and closing down. It does look like a seesaw, but maybe like a reverted or an inverted seesaw, right? Because seesaws go like that, but here the Tower Bridge works like that, right? So that is pretty cool. And steam was originally used to power the bridge, but it was actually converted to electricity in 1976, right? And obviously this is because back then, before electricity was found, people didn't really use electricity to do the things that we do now, right? Obviously until then, people use things like steam, water to get energy and whatnot. All right, and upon its completion, the bridge was actually considered the largest and most and the most sophisticated bascule bridge that was ever made. All right, so this was when it was completed, and all the way in 1977, the Tower Bridge was actually painted red, white, and blue to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee. All right. And something I've noticed is that this Tower Bridge actually, it's an iconic landmark, but obviously it is very significant for everyone here in London as well. It is a very significant thing because every time you have something important happening here in London, there is something that is always done to the bridge. Like for example, when the 2012 Olympics were held, you remember those rings that were suspended from the bridge. So it is in fact an important landmark of the United Kingdom, right? And so in 1977, they actually painted this whole thing red, white, and blue to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee, right? Whereas the original color of the bridge was actually a chocolate brown color. And reading chocolate, I've just realized I haven't had chocolate in a really long time, and now I'm craving for some. And the Tower Bridge was actually opened for the public for the first time in 1982. That was since 1910, with a permanent exhibition inside called the Tower Bridge Experience. All right. And it's always played a focal point in a lot of the things that are related or that has any relevance to the United Kingdom. Now make sure you stay tuned because we're going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss more of this. But obviously until then, make sure you stay tuned.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts mainly one because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio, and you're tuned into the sunrise. And I'm super, super excited to be here because obviously we're having a very important and even interesting conversation about the Tower Bridge in London. All right, and here in London, the time is exactly 7:44 a.m. A very, very good morning if you're just tuning in. I'm super excited that you could be here actually, so I can share my thoughts and my opinions with you. But also, I can obviously hear or listen to your thoughts and opinions as well. So don't forget to get in touch with me. All you need to do is just text me on 078 text me, call me, let me know what you're thinking, because obviously I would love to know what you are thinking. All right. And don't forget actually to go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about the very latest. All right. And it also means that you can join into the conversation live from wherever you are in the world. So that's absolutely amazing as well, because I don't think you can do that anywhere else, right? Where you can basically tune in and listen from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. Well, exactly. So make sure to get in touch with us and share your thoughts and opinions with us through the app as well. And don't forget to follow us on our socials. You can actually like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All right. So, all you need to do is just head on over to our socials, just type Relax Radio, Relax Radio, and then you will find our page. However, if you're looking for us on TikTok, all you need to do is just type Relax Media, and then you will find amazing TikToks that we've done to make sure we keep you company. All right, so don't forget to do that, and obviously don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel either, because that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed about the very latest in terms of what is happening. So don't forget to do that as well. Now, however, I want to very quickly talk about how important the London Tower Bridge is, and the significance that it has. All right, so let's talk about it right now. Now, on the 10th of August, or rather, on the 10th of August 1912, the pioneering stunt pilot Francis McLean actually flew between rather the bascules and the high-level walkways in his short brother's S-33 float plane. All right, and it was like pretty cool because at that point of time, people doing things like that was like absolutely amazing, right? And this was all the way back in 1912. So this was obviously no small feat, and it was definitely something for the ages, right? And that is basically what happened in 1912, right? Whereas in 1952, what happened was there was actually a number 78 bus that was carrying 20 passengers. All right, and basically, long story short, what happened was, there's always this person, or you get a signal before they raise the bridge, right? And the guy who was driving the bus, actually, he didn't hear it, and he kept on driving until he realized they're actually lifting the bridge, right? And at that point, he actually accelerated and he went really fast so he could leap from one bascule to the other when the bridge began to rise while it was being driven over, right? And it was like so scary. And obviously, he was fined. He was actually fined £10, which is equal to about 290 pounds right now, right? So back then, £10 actually meant 290 pounds right now. All right, so he was basically fined £10, and they basically said, like, you can't be doing things like this. You have to be focused on what you're driving and whatnot. And if you actually think about it, it was really, really scary, right? Because there were 20 passengers in this bus, and he was essentially putting everyone at risk when he did that, right? And they all survived. So it's a miracle, really, how they all survived as well. All right, so that was, that's one for the ages. That's definitely one for the books as well. All right, now in 2012, which is very, very recent, that was when we had Olympics here in London, right? And obviously, come on, who wasn't excited? Everyone's excited for Olympics. It's just like, I actually think it's because it happens once in 4 years, and even when it happens, there's so much of there's so much of celebration attached to it, so much of color and cultural diversity that is attached to it as well. And I think it's absolutely amazing. And if anything, the Olympics this time were a lesson of resilience, hard work, strength, and harmony, being there for each other. Because if you know about the two high jumpers who actually shared that gold medal, and then there was Simone Biles, actually, who basically said she basically withdrew from the tournament because she wanted to focus on her mental health. So if anything, this year's Olympics has in fact been eye-opening, right? Because they also had about 172 LGBTQ plus athletes, if I'm not mistaken. So going back to the Olympics, 2012 was actually when we had Olympics here in London, right? And the Tower Bridge actually played a focal point in the London Olympics because that year they actually saw the Olympic rings that were suspended from the walkways. And also, you had James Bond and the Queen sort of fly through in a helicopter during the opening ceremony. So that was one for the books as well, right? Now, again, on the 8th of July in 2012, basically, as a part of the London Olympics, what basically happened was, as a part of the London Olympics, what they basically did was they actually had the walkway was the west walkway rather was actually transformed into this 200-foot long, which is basically about 61 meters, live music sculpture by the British composer Samuel Portoli, right? And basically what they had was they had 30 classical musicians who actually arranged along the length of the bridge, which is 138 feet and 42 meters. 138 feet is 42 meters above the Thames behind the Olympic rings. All right, and the coolest thing about this is that the sound actually traveled backwards and forwards along the walkway, right, which basically echoed the structure of the bridge. So that's pretty cool how they made use of that as well. Now make sure you stay tuned because we're going to be heading into a small break, and after that we will be back to keep talking more about this. But until then, make sure you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for?